next speaker, it will be Mikeal Vaughn he's the Executive Director of Urban Coders Guild and also our Vice President.
Hey, so can everyone hear me? Awesome. And so first and foremost, thank you all for joining tonight. And I love the presentations that y'all have shared so far. Great recap of what you've learned over the summer. As Kristen said, I am Mikeal Vaughn. I'm the Executive Director of Urban Coders Guild. I'm also very honored to be the Vice President of CSTAOK. Kristen, if you can move to the next slide. And this animation is weird. Kristen, if we can move to the next slide and the next slide. There we go. Awesome. I'm not going to take too much of our time because we're already pretty late in the day. This is acting. Okay, there we go. So the organization, I'm going to give you a little bit about who I am. I am a veteran tech professional, 20 years working in tech, working in software development, project management, the full thing. I spent 10 years actually living and working in Japan, living in Tokyo, helping to run a IT company. I returned to Tulsa, charged with this particular mission. I always tell folks that some people have a midlife crisis that involves dyeing their hair, getting a Corvette and swapping out for a younger wife. That was not me. Mine was coming home to give back to young people who look like me and who come from communities like my own. So this is an organization that provides computer science education access, equitable access and opportunity for our underserved and underrepresented youth. Kristen. Thank you. So that really brings us into our reason for being. There is a persistent underrepresentation of Black, Brown, Latinx, Native talent in tech. There is lots to back this up, but I'm just going to give you a quick anecdote. Living in Japan, I know very much what it's like to be the only person who looks like me in my office. That is the nature of a Black man living and working in Japan. The crazy thing is that living and working as a Black man in tech in Tulsa or any place else in the US, there's very few of us. There are very few women, there are very few Black women, Latinx women, very, very few Native Indigenous folks as well. And the common narrative is that there's just a lack of talent from which our tech companies can draw from. So we exist really to switch that narrative, to negate that narrative. If you can go to the next one. Yeah, so we provided equitable access. We battled that narrative. We battled that narrative a little bit about how we actually do that. We provide after school classes. It's about 108 hours over the course of a school year. We meet twice a week for 4 hours over the course of the week. So when we say that our students earn college credit, they earn college credit because they have put in the hours. They do web development, they do iOS app development. So for our kiddos who have iPhones, our young people who have iPhones, they do Android development for our kiddos that have the Androids, those people. And they do, of course, game development. These are all like actual skills that they can actually take with them. In addition to that, though, we throw in lessons in project management, lessons in UI UX, that design piece that our kiddos really, really need. And then we also talk about entrepreneurship. Our whole goal in this is to create multiple pathways for our kids. And that's also in this slide. So we're creating these pathways. It's really important for us as adults to recognize that at this point in the world where our kiddos are, they need to have these pathways. Some of them are definitely going to want to pursue that traditional four-year education opportunity. OSU, I know we talked about our favorite teams. Some of our kiddos are definitely going to want to do that, but there are also some of our kiddos that want to do or need to do that 2-year opportunity. One of our 2 years education opportunities. I'm thinking about TCC here in Tulsa. There are some folks that are wanting to do something more vocational. So that might be Tulsa Tech, but here in Tulsa, that also might look like Hoberton, the Hoberton School, which is one of our coding boot camps, our coding dojo, that's another one of our coding boot camps. But then of course, there's gonna be some of our kiddos that are really interested in entrepreneurship. One of them might be jumping into the back of a taxi and realizing that there's not enough taxis and create that next big thing. And if you don't know, I'm describing Uber. They might create that next big $1 billion thing. And the idea is that if we could build it here in Tulsa or here in Oklahoma, we are actually affecting not only tech ecosystem building, we're affecting at that point economic change, we're affecting social change, racial equality changes. We are really doing something performative, and that is by providing those but by providing those multiple pathways for our kiddos. And there is something wrong, but it's all good. Kristen, I am with you. No worries, because I really did pop up a bunch of windows in the middle of your chat. I apologize.
I think I just lost internet. I don't know, I'm re-signing on, but keep going.
No worries. And so yeah, I was talking about the what, and it really is those multiple pathways for our kiddos. Computer science gives our kiddos those pathways. I talk a lot about coding specifically as a type of literacy. And as educators, we know grades 1, 2, 3, our kiddos are learning how to read. And then after that, they are reading to learn. And in very much the same way, computer science, coding, we're preparing those kiddos for whatever that next step is. And that might be a software engineer, of course. That might be a project manager, which is what I've done. But that might be a designer or the UI UX developer or tech sales. There's this particular spot for each of our kiddos, whether that's actually in the hardcore part of tech, or all of those tech adjacent jobs. Just like right now we're on Zoom, there needs to be someone with a technical ability. Or we are on Google Docs. There needs to be someone with a technical ability to do these tech-enabled, tech-adjacent jobs as well. And our kiddos need those opportunities and those pathways. Quick quote before we close out, because we are just about the end of my presentation. The science is not just a boys' game. It's not a girls' game. And so one of our early instructors talked about the number of boys and girls in our class and the number of Black students in their classes. It's everyone's game. It's where we're going. It's where we are and where we're going. We are definitely making that shift towards a more tech ecosystem, especially here in Oklahoma. We talk about being the next Austin. We talked about recruiting Amazon. We talked about Amazon a little bit early in this conversation, but we talked about recruiting Amazon's HQ2 to Oklahoma and what that would take in terms of our tech ecosystem. It's where we're going. And I love this quote because it comes from Nichelle Nichols, who, if you know Star Trek, she was Captain Uhura. No, not Captain. She was Uhura on the very first Star Trek, and she was actually the first Black actress to be in a science fiction and in a prime time role. That is all for me. My contact information is here. I would love to hear from you all. If there's Kristen, if we have 30 seconds for questions or a minute for questions, I am open to whatever questions that you all have of me.
And Mikeal, it's free of charge for students in the Tulsa metro area to apply, isn't that correct?
That is a great question, Kristen. It is free of charge. The kiddos, we really only ask for that time commitment. It's a lot to ask. So that time commitment, that curiosity, knowing that we're going to be doing all different kinds of things and doing that project-based learning. So at the end, there's going to be something to show for their time with us. But it's free. We also provide snacks for our kids, meals for our kids, because about 80% of our kids are free and reduced lunch. And we have to, provide all the wraparound services to really help our kids, all of those social emotional elements as well, to really help our kids, not just with the coding pieces, the computer science pieces, but becoming whole individuals.